Thanks everyone for joining this webinar today. We all know that you're busy, and we truly appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in. There are a few on the webinar that I do know, and for those that know me, hey, thanks for coming, how's it going? There's a whole bunch of people that I don't know, and so for those that I have not yet had the opportunity to meet, here's an informal, nice to make your acquaintance, and I really do look forward to the day that we can officially meet. My name is Sam Atchison. I'm Energy Solutions Manager here at Latitude Geographics. So what exactly does that mean? What am I doing, right? Well, hopefully the content of this webinar is going to answer most of that for you. But in short, my job is to take a combination of my experience, the experience of the people on the team and inside of Latitude Geographics, and to work with you, our clients, and our business partners to build applications inside the Essentials framework that help you solve business problems, standardize some internal processes, but do it more efficiently and do it with more repeatable outcomes, and do it by leveraging this platform that we're here to talk about today. Our goal is to build systems that anyone can use to use the data that is being driven through either the GIS group inside of client sites or purchase data or whatnot, but to be able to use that data in a very easy manner to make decisions and to get your job done. We're looking to accomplish this by coupling our innovative solutions and the framework that has been developed by Latitude Geographics. As I read through the attendee list today, we have several groups of people that are on the call. Quite a few people already have Geocortex in place, either familiar with it through being a business partner, familiar with it through using it in your organization, but we have quite a few people that have not yet purchased it. So hopefully we've crafted a conversation that it's equally rewarding for those of you that know about what Latitude Geographics provides and what Geocortex is, and maybe by some of you that aren't yet fully aware of what we've been doing. So in order to try to get that done, the goal for the webinar is, first of all, just take a step back and really inform people on what Geocortex Essentials is, and how we've taken Essentials and how we've used it to and applied it to the energy space thus far in some of the work that we have done. And then also to really dive into the individuals who you tend to, or who you may or may not know you're working with in the background to make all of this happen. So we're going to try to get through all of that in a half an hour. So I hope you have your seatbelts fastened. To start out, you know, the last 5 years have been pretty exciting for me. I've been doing this for about 20 years, and the last 5 years have been uniquely exciting for me. And exciting as it relates to the growth of the technology that we're embracing here. Also, it's been exciting for the products and solutions that Latitude Geographics have brought to market. And then those things together have really had a rapid growth and adoption of Geocortex inside of the energy industry. And that's been exciting as well. And unless you're new to GIS, you are probably familiar with this emerging pattern of a web GIS. Just as a quick overview, right? It's a pattern that Esri is revolutionizing, and it's a platform that is really facilitating everybody in the organization to have an identity. And then once that identity is established, it enables content producers to provide users with focused solutions, and really solutions that cater to any device, anytime, and anywhere, right? So no longer are you relegated to certain machine types to get access to these volumes of data that we have at our fingertips today. Coupled with this powerful platform, we at Latitude Geographics have made significant investments in our solutions, and we continue to reinvest in these. You know, the emergence of all of this stuff together the combination of devices, technology, what Esri's putting into the infrastructure, how we're building on top of it, has really altered this landscape. It's driven a lot of innovation and provided companies like ours to really create full-featured software. Coupled with that, the rapid growth in the environments or in the energy industry has been very beneficial for us. But talking about this platform that we have, how does this afford you the ability to get in and get your job done and make decisions? Well, we at Latitude Geographics really value both producers of the data, whether that's the spatial content or the technologies that distribute that content, and then the consumers that are using this content to make decisions every day. And through this platform, producers can easily create and manage the data. They can provide a quick and easy access to viewers, and they can customize those viewers to each user's. And I'm just going to ask a couple of questions, and I'm going to do this a few times throughout the webinar today. And these are by no means any type of a poll that we're doing through the broadcast. These are really just for you to kind of keep in your head as I'm talking. But hopefully they'll inspire some thought and maybe be able to connect some dots there for you. So, first and foremost, right, if you're managing a GIS team or if you're working as part of a team that's providing spatial content to your organization, are you ever feeling saddled with more responsibilities than you think you can get done in a workable week? And if part of that team, are you providing spatial content to your organization through things like web maps and whatnot? And if you are, does it seem like you're always getting requests, people wanting a more custom experience, and their requests often result in custom viewers and or custom code? And then if all of that happens, do you find yourself saddled with these challenging decisions of, do you continue with your data governance strategies inside of your organization, or do you really switch gears and provide this content? Well, we've heard that a lot. And that's why, when I talk about technology for producers, that's why producers love Geocortex. We provide a very simple interface that guides you through publishing spatial content. And I'm not going to demonstrate this today. This is kind of background information. And if you want to learn more, please reach out to us. But really, since it's background information, I want to get through this. Anyway, so I apologize. So an intuitive interface that allows you to publish spatial content quickly, easily, and securely. And then the fact that the Essentials suite is integrating directly with your Esri identity model, it's allowing those producers to configure custom-like environments for users and groups in minutes and using that infrastructure that you've already put in place, right? Talking about switching gears then over to consumers, another huge group of beneficiaries of this technology. We embrace the thought of anytime, anywhere, on any device. All of our solutions are responsive, and they're going to show up on any device that you have. But as consumers of this technology, thinking about more of these polling questions, do you experience, or have you heard of people experience that maybe the current web map that's available to them might be too complex or too much of a desktop replacement? And do you ever find that people inside of your organization that could benefit from powerful spatial data tools really aren't embracing what GIS is because they don't get it enough to leverage it? And I've seen that a lot. I've worked over the years in my career with some of the smartest people I've ever met. And they don't get GIS, and they don't because they've got so many other things on their plate, and they have so many other problems to solve. It's just one more tool and one more annoyance. And then finally, do you find that when you're trying to cater to these individuals, the complexity of existing systems and the poor design of that interface, it seems to just widen that gap and kind of reinforce a reluctance to embrace it. But again, this is really where Geocortex starts to excel. right? Users can have as simple of a web experience as they want with just a couple of clicks through our administration interface. But those power users can also have as complex of an interface as they want, and everything in between. The core functionality that we have out of the box can really replicate, if you want, at some level, a desktop GIS. But we also have a bunch of core features inside of our software that we want to use. We want people to use it to enable a quicker access, more intuitive web GIS inside of their organization. So when I talk about things like instant search, which is really a global search across your geodatabase that you can set up, and you can search millions of records in milliseconds, and then have a summary of all of those results inside of your map. Those are things I'm talking about, right? The ability then to connect some of that GIS data that you have to non-spatial repositories, go out and access information that might not otherwise be available to you, and then use our dynamic charting library to not only visualize that data inside of your map, but have interactivity between spatial features that made the initial request and the non-spatial data that you pull back from it. Once you've charted it out, once you've made your query, then export that as a report, share it inside of your organization. And then sometimes we have the request just to print me a map. And our printing framework is amazingly powerful. It's probably the one thing that people have asked me the most, is can we get this outside of Geocortex? Because you can go in and design up to an E-size plot. You can queue it off to your plotter, and the system will come back and tell you when that's done plotting. It's very powerful from a web perspective, right? And combined with other tools that we have, really rounding out this thing of features that enable people to have this full-featured kind of web mapping solution in front of them. However, all of that is just features. And it wouldn't be as powerful as it is if it wasn't for our workflow technology. And some of you on the phone already know what workflow is. And if you do, I hope your heads are nodding up and down. But those of you that don't, give me just a couple minutes here. This is an engine that is really driving a process-driven interaction to allow you to access spatial content. Why do I say process-driven? Well, simple. If you think about it, people and processes solve problems, right? Software systems that don't adapt to these processes aren't working to help solve the problem, and sometimes they even exacerbate it. Sorry. And as I mentioned a couple of times now, I've been doing this for about 20 years. My background is in large-scale GIS implementations and systems integration efforts. And through that time, the hardest hurdle to overcome through these implementation is the custom needs of the organization. And so no matter how good a vendor's demo looks, and no matter how hard you work to implement a good management of change or refine your internal processes, it's inevitable that the out-of-the-box solution will not conform to your internal processes. And the result of this is usually that custom code has to be written. And again, working with decision makers, project managers, business leaders in the industry, at this point, when you start talking about custom code, that's where the y-axis on the risk chart starts to tick up, and people just start getting risk averse to implementing these solutions, right? Because when you write a code module, it has to be designed, developed, tested, and accepted, has to be maintained. You've got to change it. And then you run into the problem where getting programmers and business users to talk the same language becomes a challenge again. So then a couple questions to ponder, right? Do you have users of your system that their needs just aren't met? Or how do you handle the system upgrade efforts of these underlying technologies, and how does that impact your environment? And have you assessed the cost of providing custom functionality and then the cost of maintaining it? You probably answered yes to many or all of these questions, and if you have, you are in the majority. But if I were to tell you that most of these custom feature requests that you're asked to provide throughout these GISs could be done in a code-free way, in a visual manner to facilitate interactivity between the business user and the programmer, And then you could break all of these spatial, complex spatial tasks down into simple question and answer forms that really enables non-GISers to engage with the system. You know, it would sound pretty compelling, right? And this is essentially what workflow is. It's providing, so here, it is providing through our library of what we call activities. It provides an interface for you to stitch together the activities that meet the needs of your organization. And you do that through a very powerful interface that's process-driven. So even if you're not a programmer, you could sit down and you could follow the execution flow of what's happening inside of this tool. And you can assess whether it meets the sniff test for meeting your business requirements or not, right? And then we provide the ability to design forms so you can capture and process these requests, and then publish these to a variety of devices so people can get out and automate these repetitive tasks, streamline their operations. And to showcase this, I want to kick off my first of a couple of demonstrations here. And this is going to be a site that we use quite often, and this was a site that was geared towards a non-GIS user. The person that's integrating with this data is really a facility manager. He's running a refinery, and he's looking for a way to see how much product he's got coming, and in this workflow, he can't take on the burden of all of the product that's coming, that's going to be delivered to his refinery. So he wants to see if there is anybody within a relatively close proximity that can take up some of the excess. So we've got a workflow that we've published here for him under our handy I want to menu that says run a facility search. And the first thing that happens is he's prompted with two questions, right? How many miles do you want to search by? And what's the name of the facility you're searching from? So I'm going to type in Ramberg. You'll see our global search has indexed our search there. So in just a couple of seconds, I got my IntelliSense back to me. So I didn't even have to type the whole word. But then when I hit search, watch what happens. Of course. There it goes. All right, so we performed a proximity search, or in GIS terms, a buffer around that facility that I'm coming from. We collected all of those facility IDs, and then we were able to queue off to an external business system that has real-time capacity information of the facilities that were returned in that 100-mile range, bring these back, and put them in a chart that is really tied right to my map. So as I mouse over these facilities, you'll see that this comes back and shows data inside of my map where that facility is. I see this one's got a lot of excess capacity, and I can start my process of offloading what's coming to my refinery to there. And again, two questions that somebody answered, kicking something off, integrating with a third-party system, bringing data back and visualizing it. And that right there is the guts of what Geocortex workflow provides. We'll get back into the presentation here. Now with that, I just want to capture really quickly before I transition, that was my quick overview of what Essentials is. One of the things that I do want to say is, as a company who prides itself on not resting with good enough, as cool as our technology is, and as neat as that was to watch the interactivity there, we're constantly reinvesting. We're constantly staying ahead of the curve. And I'm not going to get into the things that are being cooked up in the R&D labs right now, but I would implore you to stay in close contact, either through our webinar series, with any account manager that you work with or business partner that you work with, to see how we're continuing to redefine what we can do inside of a WebGIS in later 2017 and going into 2018. I do want to switch gears here, though, and get on into the, why we're here, this Geocortex for energy. And when we think about the ability to provide technology and the ability to provide automated processes, that's really powerful. It speaks volumes. But when it's not coupled with industry experience, especially in an industry that seems to have so much jargon and so many proprietary systems as the energy industry, you know, it becomes more challenging to come up with these full featured, these robust solutions that are truly meeting the needs. And therefore, you know, it requires us the need to specialize, right? And this is really, specializing can be from the tools and the tool sets that we create. It can also be simply understanding the terms that are used in meetings and being able to keep up with the flow of conversation. But it also involves kind of a deep understanding of what the rules and the regulations that are driving a lot of what's happening in the industry and how operators must conform to these rules and regulations. So meeting all of these needs really requires some investment. And this is both with the people that we have and the software that we provide. Earlier, I spoke a little on the last 5 years. And this is really, this part is where the meat of our growth starts to show, right? Through these years, we as a team have written some very compelling solutions. The team has learned a lot through the engagements that have brought these solutions to market, right? I mean, really working part and parcel with our clients. But the company is also hired to gain industry experience. People like myself. Another gentleman, Tom Kasmer, I'm going to touch base on him along with the rest of the team later, but really bringing these unique and these unique skill sets to the team that make us a more well-rounded team and a team that can better serve you and the people in our industry. And through this growth stage, as I mentioned, we've written some pretty cool solutions. One of those is a tool that we use for subsurface rendering. We call it perspective. So if you hear us talk about perspective, that's the tool set we're talking about. But perspective is really a way that you can visualize subsurface infrastructures. And exploration and production companies love this piece of software. It promotes a rapid display of your well path. But beyond just displaying data, it allows you to map that data to specific instances on your line, to specific regions on your line. So you get a much deeper and much more thought-provoking representation. Understanding things like fluid amounts and propping agents, investing into visualizing drilling completions, compliance with subsurface restrictions and leases that you have, distance to other subsurface infrastructures, real-time visualizations. The list is really long and pretty robust. Unfortunately, I can't demo everything people have done with it because so much of it is unique and proprietary to clients. But I do want to take just a couple of seconds here and I want to show you what perspective can do. And if we look at a traditional web map here, you'll see that I'm looking at an area in Texas. I am looking at a bunch of two-dimensional, what we call well paths or sticks on the map. And I also have some green, orange, blue, and purple polygons on the map. And in a two-dimensional sense, you can see that bird's eye view, but you really lose a bit of the perspective, no pun intended, of the data that's underneath the surface. So by clicking on a well stick, I can then initialize the 3D viewer that I've got. And all of a sudden, I have an interactive view of what's happening subsurface. I have a menu, much like I also have inside of Geocortex, that allows me to turn on other data sources. So I can look at three-dimensional subsurface lease data and see if I am in compliance or if I am not in compliance with areas that I am allowed to be in or not allowed to be in. I can render the top of ground in there. I can also turn on and off this seismic curtain that allows me to see if my well path is actually through an area that I was targeting because of a known play, a known reserve, right? I'm going to go ahead and just turn off a couple of these things really quickly, only because the other thing I want to show you, and like I mentioned, beyond a visualization tool, this is really a powerful data tool as well. And I can model where stages on a drill are. I can model what type of propping agents I put into that, and I can actually render that specifically so you can see volumetrically where you've used a certain amount of agent and where you haven't. So again, just pretty amazing, pretty cool technology that is that's built right into Geocortex. The technology itself, and not to keep laboring on the demonstration, but allows you to pop it out, so if you've got two monitors, you can actually see the 3D view right next to your 2D view, and it gives you a more robust, a more eye relief way to visualize this information. Heading back to our presentation here, as we think about the energy space, you know, pipeline operators are also a huge portion of that. And in the pipeline world, everybody is talking about station center lines. But not everybody understands what you mean by a station center line. And for people that are working through an event-driven GIS, and this is really when I can speak to my expertise and my knowledge of the industry, you know, I understand event-driven GIS. So again, I want to offer myself, if anybody has any questions, please reach out to me and we can chat. But there are a whole bunch of requests that come in, whether that's a one-call ticket, whether that's a dig notification, whether it's just somebody being out on the line that wants to figure out where they are and where they are in relation to assets or appurtenances on the center or station's pipeline itself. We have a tool called Pipeline Navigator. Works inside of Geocortex, works inside of ArcGIS Online and Web App Builder, that interpolates between the stationing on your center line, your measure, and your geographic location. It actually gives you measures and offsets, so you could measure how far your center line is from a property boundary, maybe from some type of an ESA. And sorry, I don't want to get too nerd here on this conversation. I'll back off. But a very valuable tool that does provide some really cool interactive insight. However, getting back to our thoughts on, you know, not resting on our laurels, I'm going to do my last demo here for you and show you where this Pipeline Navigator tool is going. I'm looking at a pipeline network. For anybody who is interested, this is running on top of Esri's new APR technology, and we have behind the scenes on these pipeline assets, we are actually streaming a third-party parcel information layer here. And if I'm a person that's interested, maybe I've got a dig, maybe I've got a huge remediation effort that's going on. Anyway, for some reason, I need to reach out to anybody whose land this pipeline goes through. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up my Want To menu again. And again, notice, right, we're not opening up tools, we're not selecting features, we're not doing buffers, we're going through question and answer forms. I want to go ahead and select a segment of my pipeline using two stations on the map. Now check this out. This is where this Pipeline Navigator tool is getting really cool. I can come up, you can see, I can attach it to the pipeline. This functionality is available in our standard Pipeline Navigator tool and what we're working on now that allows this rubber band elasticity up and down the line and then interpolates the current station. I can drop my first point. I can come down here. I can drop my second point, and I can say, yep, I've got what I want. Should be about 12.5 miles of pipe that I've selected here. Okay, 13.3 miles, 13.4 miles of pipe, yep. And do I want to go ahead and intersect this against my property layers? Yes. So now, again, streaming some third-party property data, that's coming in, and I have an interactive map now to see everybody's property that hits my pipeline. Do I maybe want to export that as a report? Yes, I do. And here you can see where that workflow technology is stitching together all of those super features that I was talking about in Geocortex. That is helping you get your job done, helping you get something that's digestible that you can then send to somebody else inside of the organization, and really getting it done in seconds for you, right? Hope you think that's cool, because I do. But that's not all that we're working on, right? Every year, the pipeline operators that we work with go through a risk assessment program. And understanding where the threats are in your pipeline, understanding any probability or any consequence of failure and what dollar amount that could relate to you, very important to have insight into. And right now, you'll hopefully appreciate some of the shadings I've done here to respect some confidentiality. But we're writing an interactive tool that lets you drill into your risk results, get some summary information on your overall exposure, be able to use some charts and reporting to see what some of those risk factors are, those input risk factors, and how much they had an impact on your resulting risk analysis. And just give you an overall health of your pipeline to see, you know, am I in a really bad shape or am I in really good shape? And this is something we're working on right now, and looking to see if there's anybody else that's interested in assessing and viewing risk assessment results inside of Geocortex. Working into the integrity management group, right? One of the organizations, or I'm sorry, one of the biggest chasms between two groups I've worked with in organizations is the risk integrity group and the GIS group, right? And how are we working to bridge gaps there? Well, if you're running if you have a pigging plan and you're running pipeline pigs on your line and you want to get back and you want to do some thorough analysis on where you have threats that are boiling up to your risk assessment, where you might have to go deploy a crew for some remediation, we have some pretty cool interactive libraries or functionality, sorry, inside of Geocortex that starts to break down your high corrosion areas and then starts to show them where they lie on the map. But if you look at that bottom report, that's called a clock position diagram, and it's actually, for people that don't know pipelines, it's if you cut that pipeline down the center of the top of it and you lay it flat. So you've got at the top of that chart 12 o'clock, at the middle of that chart 6 o'clock, and then the bottom of that chart is 12 o'clock again. You can actually see where those anomalies lie in relation to the circumference of your pipeline. And then as you drill into that, then you get a much more holistic view of that that sub-region that you might queue up to go out and dig. And if you're out repairing 3 anomalies as it stands, you might as well take care of that dent that's there too, even though that might not have raised up high enough on your flag list to go out and dig up previously, right? Then you can queue that up to a dig report that you can send out in the field. We then are working to take that information with our mobile application framework to where you can actually get out in the field and complete those pipe exposure reports. So being able to take Geocortex in an offline state into the field, hook up to high precision GPS to get very accurate results, then fill out each of the parts of that exposure report, take some photos so you can get an idea of what you're pushing back in as part of that report, attach them and sync them back up to the GIS. So now we have promoted a complete workflow from back office into the field and back through Geocortex tools. Very powerful. Finally, this last thing I'm going to talk about here is our emergency response solution. And I will tell you before I get into these slides, this application demos much better than its slidewares. So if this has any interest to you, get in touch with Rob Lenarchich or get in touch with anybody on your account management team to have them show you what this can do, because it's just amazingly powerful. But what is it? It is this blend of Geocortex and Esri technology, where we're taking parts of ArcGIS Online, we're taking Geo Event Processor, and we're bringing these together to promote a real-time, interactive, multi-way collaborative spatial environment. This allows many people on many different devices to seamlessly communicate using spatial technology between the field and the back office. It also allows integration with social networks, so you can see what the court of public opinion is saying through these events. Whoops. And it also promotes, it also has built into it playback functionality. So after a response or after an incident happens and you respond to it, you can go back into the operations afterwards and do a playback, do a what-if analysis, improve and refine your processes. Aside from the whiz-bang things that I'm able to demonstrate well, the team is also integrated with land management and lease application subsystems, work order management, permitting, leak detection, many asset management systems, and many data process and ETL tools. And from here, for those that are familiar with FME, safe software, really kicking off FME processes from right inside of Geocortex, right? So if you bring all of that together, and if you think about these last couple minutes of me gabbing on, you know, we're really assembling quite a group of people here that are bringing together our creative thought plus our experience. And so thinking about subsurface visualization on the exploration and production side, land acquisition, right-of-way, lease management systems, pipeline GIS, and hitting all of those data standards that we're talking about or that are prevalent in the industry today, thinking about above-grade assets, below-grade assets, facilities, offshore, onshore, field data collection. We're really putting together quite a resume of experience that we have. And as we bring all of that together, right, and with our desire as a company to continue meeting and exceeding the demands that are put on us by the industry, by the regulatory environment, and by our clients, we have kind of driven to make a change inside of our company. And so a little bit of a drum roll here. For anybody who likes Christmas Vacation, I always love the Christmas Vacation drum roll. But we are proud to communicate that we have formally dedicated an energy team inside of Latitude Geographics. So this is a team of individuals that are first and foremost, right, we're working alongside other individuals inside of Latitude Geographics, but we are focused on providing services and solutions that are meeting the demands of the industry. I hope you know why you should care on that. You know, it's bringing together best-of-breed software with best-of-breed minds with a lot of industry experience to just help you guys out. And so who are we serving in this vertical? Well, we've broken up kind of three groups that we're working with: exploration and production, the exploring new fields, and getting it out of the ground, transmitting it, and then storing it once it's out of the ground, and then being able to turn that into a product that then you can get to market. And that last box is a little bit light gray there because we are really working with a lot of business partners on more of the distribution side, and on the pipeline and the E&P side, we're taking it on ourselves to write a lot of those solutions. So then what you're asking, well, what are we doing, right? Uh-oh. Did I? I'm going to exit out of my slide deck here really quickly because there is an important slide that was hidden. There we go. The most important slide of the whole deck. Who are we? Right? And so I just want to take a couple of seconds here to introduce different people on the team if I can. Myself, I've been talking way too much. Those of you who have worked with us in the past are probably familiar with Rob Lenarchich. He's our sales guy extraordinaire. Quinn Abbey works part and parcel with Rob on a lot of account management and existing relationships with clients. If you haven't seen her face, you've heard her voice, great person. And then I mentioned earlier, Tom Kazmer. Tom used to work for an operator over in Baku, Azerbaijan, has a lot of offshore experience, brings a lot of linear referencing and PODS experience to the team. Also, integrity management, risk assessment. We have Christian Morin. Christian is our software architect extraordinaire. He ensures that the code that we write conforms to the demands that are put on us by the organization as a whole. Another good tidbit about Christian is he's the guy who wrote the initial perspective and continues to be heavily invested in what perspective is. Colin Aspinall, he's an Ingenuity software engineer. He is just loved by our clients, and in fact, one of them has him on site right now, and he's kicking booty for them. And then Yongji Zhu is also a software engineer. On the services side, he drives a lot of our design and architecture, and he really leads our team on the service side of the software process. And so a great, well-rounded team. I'm proud to work with each and every one of them. It is a great, great group. Now we can get back to one of the slides that wasn't hidden. What will we be working on? Well, first and foremost, leveraging our experience to continue down, making sure services engagements deliver what is expected as we go. The next thing that we're working on is products and solutions. I've showcased a few of them here. I'm going to tell you that if anybody is at PUG or the Esri Petroleum GIS conference in April, please come by our booth and see us. We're working on some pretty cool stuff. We would love to show you more of it, give you more of an in-depth demo on that. But then as we're looking to invest in this vertical, we're also wanting to stay engaged with clients. And so, you know, we're continuing down the path of regional meetings. We call them GRUGs, Geocortex Regional User Groups. We're still attending a lot of conferences, and we're actually entering into more of a thought leadership and kind of a blog post and outreach type of effort. And so if any of that is interesting to you, please keep in touch. Let's see here. And I guess as I go through it, that's really about it. You know, thank you from us. You know, we covered many exciting things today. A quick overview of Geocortex. We're showing how these tools today are solving problems in the industry. We announced that energy team and showed how we're going to continue to be pushing that envelope forward. And hopefully a year from now, we'll have a bunch of wins and a bunch of successes in the book with you all. Just a quick heads up, I'm going to be at the Rocky Mountain PUG meeting tomorrow evening down in Denver. So if anybody attending is there, come say hi, let's chat. Like I mentioned, the Esri Petroleum GIS conference in April, the International UC in July. There's a regional conference in Pittsburgh, I believe, in June. I think we're going to be heading to that. So we're going to see you at a lot of events this year. Please come out and call us and email us and let us know how we can help. And with that, I want to thank everybody for attending. I know I went just a little bit over, but I appreciate everybody's time. I don't see any questions, but if people want to ask questions, I am happy to stay here and answer some. Let's see here. All right. Well, I think with that, I don't have anything coming in. Again, thank you everybody for coming. Please let us know how we can help, and we look forward to seeing you and meeting you at different events. Have a great day.